You know, if every track sounded like The Man, this would have been a great album. You all know who the Killers are at this point. I'm not going to introduce them. They're an American indie rock, alternative rock, pop rock. I'd say mostly pop rock band, but they're long from the days where they made those memorable, instantaneously, just classic indie rock tracks like Mr. Brightside, Somebody Told Me, When We Were Young, When You Were Young, in fact. They're long from those days. They've not really made a track like that for a long time. They went in a bit more of like a synth-driven direction, which I didn't like at all. And um, I've never thought they've really put out like a great album, so I just thought I'd try this new one, thinking maybe they've changed direction. Then they have a bit again, but it just doesn't really stick with me. I can recognize that there are a lot of qualities on this album, like there's a lot of great tracks and a lot of good ideas. But as a whole album, though, I'm not going to return to this. It's just, I don't know, there's too much of it that just doesn't really fit into any kind of specific style. I feel like they're pulling from other bands and other artists and other genres that I'm just kind of, I can kind of see that it's that obvious that I'm just not really feeling it. The biggest influence I think on this album is 80s. Like some of these tracks just sound like massive 80s pop songs, arena ready, pop rock tracks. I'm fine with that though, which is why obviously I don't hate this album or think it's terrible, but it's not something I ever seek out for. There are honestly some tracks on this album though that really feel like they came from the U2 playbook. Like seriously, some of like the overly passionate vocal performances coming from Brandon Flowers are a bit cheesy for me. I don't know. I just feel like he's soaring his vocals and in a way that just feels too much like U2. And again, I don't hate U2. I don't like U2, but I don't hate them. So, based on that, it's not really something I care for. Then tracks like Run for Cover have this really like speedy synth lead on it, which really reminds me of something like Bleachers would make. Like it does sound like Jack Antonoff would kill this kind of song. And Run for Cover is probably one of the better tracks here. Actually, it is a good song. But yeah, it just reminds me a bit of Bleachers, and it's a bit strange. I understand that Bleachers don't go quite as big and epic as the Killers do, especially with their instrumentals, but this one did sound quite like something that would have come off the latest Bleachers album. But I've got to talk about the track The Man because this is just such like a dancey funk track. Like seriously, I don't know where the Killers came out with this one. I absolutely love this one. It's such a bouncy like instrumental, and I'm just like rocking my head every time it comes on. I wouldn't be surprised if this made my year-end list for best songs of the year. Seriously, it's that good. I was so surprised when this came on. I was like, yes. The opening track, Wonderful Wonderful, is this tuned down rock track. It's got quite a sluggish, dirty instrumental. Not really sure if it fits their style all too well. It's not a bad song though, but it didn't really get me hyped for the album. It certainly didn't fit into being the first song and then the second song being The Man. That didn't quite work. Everything after Run for Cover though kind of blurs together for me. I'm not really getting that much of a difference between each track. It all kind of slides into one another. I don't know. I think it's the issue. The issue for me is that the choruses just feel overly phoned in and a bit over the top. It's like they were just making these songs just ready for a live setting, which is fine, I guess. They are a very popular live band. They sell out arenas and stadiums and shit, so obviously they're gonna make songs that fit that setting, but just as an album, it doesn't really feel like it flows too well and doesn't have that much excitement for me. And then the last track, Have All the Songs Been Written, feels a bit too on the nose with its introspection. I mean, have all the songs been written? Has every ship gone sailing? Has every heart gone blue? It's just a bit blah, honestly. In terms of the way the track sounds, though, it's not the worst way to end an album, but lyrically it just felt a bit vague and a bit meh. So yeah, you know what? This album honestly isn't bad. I've probably made it sound worse than it is. It's just not really for me. I'm just not seeing that much redeeming qualities in terms of how many times I'd ever listen to this. It was okay-ish. Like, it's not a bad album, like, it really isn't. It's probably better to a lot of other listeners. I feel like Killers fans would like this, of course. And honestly, in terms of sound and ideas, it's not bad either. I mean, they do execute the big, like, arena-sized tracks well. They've got The Man on here, which is a great song. Um, just isn't for me. I'm just not feeling it personally. Yeah, I'd say a D plus. There are some great tracks on here though, so a D plus might not reflect that, but there are a few tracks like Run for Cover and The Man that are pretty damn good. Just not an album that I'll ever return to, and two tracks that I would recommend from this album isn't really successful as an album as a whole, is it? So yeah, The Killers, Wonderful Wonderful, meh, meh. Let me know what you think of this album in the comments. If you like this a lot more than I did, then let me know as well, and tell me if I'm wrong if I'm wrong. Tell me what I should review next as well, and have a good day.